Welcome to
I'm alive.
CRE Power Hour. My name is Lisa Marie Wand and my fabulous co-host Stephanie Gillison, and we spent the last 2 decades growing and scaling our businesses, and together we are bringing a new space for you to learn alongside the best in real estate business at CRE Power Hour. Today our guest is Paul Cohen with CREXi, and we're so excited to have him on our show. We have a live audience. We have a live audience joining us today, so please drop your name and where you're from in the chat. And we absolutely welcome questions in the chat during the show. So let's get right into it. Hey, Paul, thanks for being on the show today.
Lisa Marie, thanks for having us. Having me, and I mean us by CREXi is what I mean.
Yes,
I'm not
by
multiple
CREXi,
people.
by proxy, right?
I don't have a multiple personality. No,
Are you
yeah,
sure?
we're super excited to be here. Maybe I do. We're excited.
That might be a first on CRE Power Hour to have a multiple personality guest.
I'll try.
That is one thing I'm gonna chime in right now, because Paul has he and I are both alike in that aspect. Lisa Marie, you too, where we wear a whole lot of different hats with a ton of experience, but that's what I love. We were at ICSC was the last conference I saw you at in Vegas, last month, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was May, end of May.
And we're standing around there, and this guy's like, oh my God, she's 6 people away from getting 20,000 followers, and he made it happen in 2 seconds flat by telling the entire sales team.
I went to the sales team, everyone followed Stephanie, and we got there, yeah.
It was awesome.
Paul,
we had a Bloody Mary bar too, so that helped.
Oh,
that's why I was there, Paul.
That's why she was there. No, I know.
I didn't come to hug you. I came to drink.
You know
Whatever
how to
works,
attract
Stephanie.
a crowd. Bloody Mary bar. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Paul? Because I have this great bio. We have it up on the screen, but
you
want to give us a quick intro?
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. Look, I've been in the commercial real estate space for over 30 years now. Started when I was 8, which I was probably one of the youngest people at CBRE Dallas. I love this industry. I've thought about doing other things, but I just kind of love the industry. And I've worn different hats within the industry. So I've been at a national firm, with that logo that we all know, the green logo. And I've had my own firm, and I've done everything in between. I've been partners with people. I've basically made every mistake you could possibly make in commercial real estate, but I've learned a lot through the way, and I've never made the same mistake twice. So that's kind of like, and I sort of halfway through my career, I kind of wised up and I got focused on investment sales, and kind of sort of grew that business. And then when the financial crisis hit, I left, did a couple other things, got into insurance for a year just because I was curious on what was the commercial property insurance business. And to cut a very long story short, about 6 years ago, I was introduced to Mike and Luke, who are the co-founders of CREXi. And they came to Miami, where I'm based, from LA, introduced to me by a mutual friend, Eli Randall, who's actually is now at CREXi also. And they showed me what CREXi was. And at that time, I was on my own. I was trying to figure out how to replace all the people that I had as support teams, because I used to have, a marketing coordinator and an assistant this and this and that. And then it was just me. And I didn't really know how I was going to replace all these people. And they basically built CREXi, showed it to me, and it did a lot of the stuff that I was going to have to pay people to do. So I was in from day one, and I basically just kept hitting up Mike, who's our CEO, and was like, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And within about 6 months, he said, why don't you just come join us? And I joined CREXi. I think there was 700 people on the platform, and we just kept going from there. So that's kind of how I just really got into the business just the same way as everyone else does. I knew someone that was super wealthy, and I said, hey, how do I become like you? And he said, get into commercial real estate. And that's kind of how I got in. And the rest is kind of history, as they say.
So you've been through the school of hard knocks, like Stephanie and I, and probably a lot of the people listening. They have the bumps and bruises to show it. Do you want to share with us some of your good stories, some of the things you've learned, what not to do, what people should be doing more quickly in their career?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, the very first story in my career is I was smart enough to know you had to kind of be known for something. The people, and this is my strong opinion, I'll debate anyone on this, but Depends on where you live. I mean, if you live in a small town of 100 people, maybe you do everything. But if you live in a sizable city, you should probably focus on one aspect of the business. And so the thing that I decided I was going to be the expert at was commercial condos. Commercial condos. I figured no one else was doing it. There's a lot of them in Miami. There was, at least at the time. There certainly is now. It was just sort of starting to happen. And so I went out and I cataloged every commercial condo out there, and I started calling all the owners and started getting listings. And to the point where people in my company made like a Photoshop thing of me with a crown, and they're like, "Hey, he's the condo king," and they thought it was hilarious. And I was like, it's working. The branding's working. Everyone knows me as a condo king. 2 years into it, I do the math and I'm like, wait a minute. How many of these damn condos have I got to sell to make a living? I literally was like the king of nothing. You know what I mean? I'd have to sell 300 of these things to make $1 million. Meanwhile, I had guys in my office selling like one deal and making like $500,000. And I was like, oh man, I'm such an idiot. And so at that time, what happened was CBRE ended up buying this little company that we owned out. And I went to CB. And I said, all right, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm going to be known for something, but it's not going to be, office and warehouse condos.
The condo king.
No, I want to be the condo king. So I had a chance to rebrand myself and like reinvent myself. And I went around to a bunch of people at CBRE, and we ended up, these guys were starting this thing called the private client group, which is a group of people that specialized in just dealing with independent owners of commercial real estate. Investment sales, generally speaking, but not necessarily. And in any market, depends on where you live, there's 1,000 of these, or maybe 10,000 if you live in like a New York City or New Jersey or something like that. And what we basically did is cataloged everyone had their own little market, and it was just a systematic way of being in front of all these people so that when they decided to sell, they would call you. It's a long-term play. It takes a while to build the reputation, but I'd already experienced that in the condo king. I knew how long it would take to be a condo king. It's about, a year. So I figured I'd put a year into this and I'd be the investment king. And actually, it kind of worked out. There's actually a guy called Phil Voorhees out of Newport Beach who was really kind of my mentor in that group. And he did a thing like, he'd be in front of these owners like 10 times a month, which I was probably in front of them once a year. You know what I mean? And his whole strategy of marketing being in front of them. So I kind of learned that from him, and we built this thing within CB. And I was at CB for 12 years, and it was good. It was good times. And so I made the mistake. I learned the hard way. I did it, the hard way, and then I kind of learned. Once you become known for something, and it's a market where you can make money, people start calling you up and saying, "Hey, can you sell this? Hey, can you sell that?" And I know that happens to you guys. Where now, instead of having to get a listing, you have to call 100 people. People start calling you. That's when you know you're successful in your market. So that's, I think, the big takeaway.
I'd like to see some vintage condo king marketing
Oh my
materials, Paul.
God.
I think we should post those on eBay. Maybe we could get
we
a high
should.
bid.
I may have.
What do you think,
have.
Actually, Paul, I want you to autograph one and send it to me is what I want you to do. Because you
I
owe
can
me
do
that
an
gift,
EFT.
and
I
that's
can
the
do it as
gift
an
I want.
EFT, and we can make some money off this thing. Let's see, condo king. I think I must have deleted it.
Someone put your
mean,
hashtag in the comments. They said hashtag condo king.
Yeah,
Not
it was a
condom
picture
king,
of me.
condo king.
Well, that's another story. I was in Mexico now.
With your accent, we weren't sure. So
No, I know. That's what people say to me all the time. Is he serious?
Here's what I always wanted to ask you, and as many times as we've been in each other's presence or been on Zooms or on the phone, I've never asked you what led you from brokerage and doing deals to CREXi. I mean, I know how you met them, but what was what was that like? Like I started in real estate at 21 years old. I can't imagine never not selling real estate.
Well, that's a really good question, because not selling real estate is really hard for me not to do, if that makes sense. It's like it's in your blood.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
So I'll answer your question first, which is, it was hard, but when they showed me the platform, I I looked at it and I go, man, this could be it. This could be the thing. I knew there needed to be something. And I'd met with a couple of folks before that just wanted to do this thing, you know what it is, where they get a bunch of listings and they do clickbait and they try to sell zip codes and advertising. I was like, I don't want any piece of that. I would not have left my successful business for that. But when first of all, our CEO, Mike DeGiorgio, is a really good salesperson. And he sold me the dream, of which I still believe in. And he's like, look, come help, you can grow, you can run the Southeast for us and kind of grow that, and then we'll see how it goes. And I figure an opportunity like that comes by once a lifetime, maybe, if you're lucky. Yeah. The fact that he was in LA, I was in Miami, and it just kind of happened. I'm also a believer in things happen for a reason. Like I don't want to get all like spiritual or anything, but I read like the Celestine Prophecy 30 or whenever it came out a long time ago. And I kind of go, that actually makes sense. I don't know how much of it is true, but I do believe that you meet people that happen to tell you stuff for a reason. And I buy into that stuff a lot. So I just decided I'm going to leave. I'm going to cold turkey it. I had one deal that was under contract. I told him, he said, that's fine. And then that's it. I never looked back. It's hard because, you still get into this habit where you drive down the street and you see like, oh, I wonder if that building's for sale. It's just a really hard habit to get out of. But I think it took me a year before I was like, okay, I'm okay with it. And now, like I run a sales team of about 80 people, and we hire people that are brokers and they want to transition. And I'm always like, do you really want to hang up your, HP 12C, old reference there? That was for you, Dotine. I saw Dotine is on the call. So I'm sure she uses her HP. Yeah, I'm sure she uses her HP 12C every day. But and that was it. So that's why I did it. I mean, I took a leap of faith, and I think it took a year before I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm glad I did it. I still like, the funny thing is most of my friends, if not all of them, are commercial real estate brokers. I don't know why that is. So I still kind of live vicariously through them.
Yeah.
And, when like one of my buddies, Larry, just sold a property for, I think, 174 million, I kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I get over it, because, but I like what I'm doing because ultimately in life, what's that movie, City Slickers? Have you seen that movie where he's like, it's the one thing, and you're, what's the one thing? You're like, you got to find out. And I always wanted to find out what my one thing was. Like at the end of the day, if I sell a bunch of real estate, great. I made a bunch of money. I made some people. But what's my legacy? What did I leave behind? What can I share with the industry? And if I can make my industry better,
right,
than what it was, then I lived a life of purpose. And that's really kind of what I bought into with moving to CREXi. So it was a long-winded answer of why I left the industry. But I'm still. It's not like I left and I became a lobster fisherman or something like that.
It's not like you're driving for Uber Eats. I mean, come on.
Well, I do on the weekends, mate. They don't pay me much here, so that's right. So if you're in Miami,
the Condo King is at my door. It's my lunch.
I'm sure there's something we can do there. We can do definitely a tie-in. VXP, if you guys can figure that out.
I think we need to find the next Condo King and like deliver the branding to this junior agent and help them, along. I mean,
all right. If anyone on the call wants to be, he wants to take the crown.
The legacy Condo King.
Maybe on the next call we can do a crowning ceremony, and we'll hand it over to the next Condo King. I've probably still got the database somewhere you could have.
I love it. Paul, let's dive in a little bit on CREXi for those that, I mean, you know me, and everybody on this call that knows me, that I'm real and I don't, make up a bunch of crap. Okay. And one of the things that has been so innovative for my real estate team, which our goal this year is we're going to do over $1 billion in sales. And we're doing that because of being able to utilize platforms that are driving traffic. And we just talked about this a little bit ago, but we put a listing up on CREXi. I get 28 leads in the first hour, and I got one lead on another platform, that I'm paying a lot more money for. So let's talk through, how long has CREXi been around now? 8 years?
Let's call it 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did all of that transpire? Like, how did you guys, I mean, yes, it's a great platform, but how did you come in brand spanking new and start owning that space? Because at least on my listings, which we have close to
Mm,
$2 billion listed. On my
Yeah.
listings, that's where we're getting our traffic, is CREXi.
That's right.
yeah. Well, so the reason is I'll tell you the secret sauce there. It's two things. One is we have an open platform. So the company's plan was always to have an open platform. And what I saw in the industry, actually, I didn't really realize this when I first joined CREXi, to be quite honest. There was a guy called Hans who was our chief product officer at one point, and he's a really smart guy. I think he's now at Meta, as last I heard. And basically, he explained what a platform is. And a platform is a place that everyone if you have everyone in the industry on this thing, then that's where you get all the connection points. And what a lot of groups do to this day, for some reason, they try to create this little group of just them and their buddies, and they want to control it. It's like the old MLS kind of model. Like, if we have just control this group of listings, then people have to come to us. That's good if you want to get but it doesn't create the connections. So the platform is one. We've grown so rapidly. I think right now we have over 500,000-600,000 listings on CREXi. And then the second part to that is we use AI to match buyers with tenants. So it's kind of like a dating site. I don't know if you guys probably, you're married, Stephanie, I know that. So you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but out there in the world, there's sites.
I didn't have dating apps when I was dating.
All right. Anyway, my point is,
They used carrier pigeons.
I'm only 44. Come on now.
no,
I
but
know,
it's a
I'm
fairly
just
new thing.
teasing
But
you,
my point is,
Stephanie.
they use that AI technology to match the right people, right?
Correct.
You don't match. So in our space, if you match an investor of, multifamily, and you keep sending them warehouses, it's just going to disconnect.
Right.
But we take it to the next level where it says, okay, this person is clicking on these types of listings. It builds a profile for them in real time and sends it to them. The old way was, when you created a profile, you'd say, I'm interested in industrial, and then you would just get industrial listings. But if you then start clicking on self-storage or land and stuff like that, the old systems don't know that. At CREXi, we do. And then if you upload a self-storage facility tomorrow, it's going to send you up to the date stuff. 1031 exchange buyers, it can kind of figure out who's a 1031 exchange buyer, and it can that's why your hotties are probably getting a bunch of hits, because the system, how does it do it? I don't know how AI even works, but it works really well. And you can't launch AI, month one and it work. It's machine learning, right? So it takes time to figure out how to do it. But now we're sort of 6-7 years into this. It's amazing how it works. In fact, there's a tool, I don't know if you've seen this yet, on CREXi, they brought out maybe a few months ago, called Top Prospects. And I just had a buddy of mine, a really good friend of mine, reach out to me and says, I just started using it. This is amazing. And what it does is you upload a listing, and it will give you a list of 50 people from your database of buyers who should be interested in that property right now. And it's on a relevant score, kind of like a Netflix score, that type of thing. So you just sort that list and go start calling through. And he's like, I got 5 deep in the call list. I found a guy that was interested in making an offer. He hadn't even blasted it out yet.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do, basically, is make brokers superhuman. We're trying to give you superpowers where you get, exactly. You get the listing, and then we'll help you sell. You just go get the relationship management, and then we'll bring you the buyers, and then you do your magic, negotiate the deal, and close it. Boom.
And that's what I love. That, see, I get that because I've experienced that. And, we use that feature. That feature is amazing. It's almost like, in the commercial space, and we talk about this all the time, Lisa Marie and Paul, I know you and I've talked about this, there, in commercial industry, there's not that many advancements. And I think because when I got into this industry back in 1999, the internet wasn't really, it was there, but it wasn't a thing yet. I was the first real estate agent. I didn't have my broker's license at the time, but I was a real sales associate with the first website in the state of Kentucky. I had the first website for real estate. That's not unheard of, right? It's like, what?
Yeah.
But, there's in the residential space, of having, years of affiliation on the EXP Realty side and seeing all the residential technology that has been built to drive business and leads. Of course, it's that Z word out there that then sells those leads back to those poor agents. But that's what I like about CREXi is because when I'm speaking to somebody that maybe is new to commercial real estate, or maybe they've had time in the residential, I tell them, I said, look, it's like the Zillow, but it's way better, and they're not going to charge you for it, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
that's what it's doing. It's doing the biggest part of that heavy lift, and then, but I mean, I'm paying. I still subscribe to a lot of other things, and I'm paying a lot of money every month for marketing on different platforms, and I find it just impressive, and I love when I can do a screen share with my sales rep at another company and go, let me show you what I'm getting on CREXi, and let me show you, or actually you've got access to my account, pull up how many leads I got on. I mean, I did this last week because I was negotiating my contract.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, that's it. I mean, we never went to any national firm and said, all right, let's sign up everybody. What we decided to do is go bottom up, which is go to the people that have the listings, show it, and then they show it to everybody else that they're working with. And then we've grown that quickly because of that.
Yeah.
As opposed to selling everyone and then nobody logs in, and it's just not working that way. So I think that, look, it's very gratifying for me, working on this thing for 6 years, to go to conferences like CCIM that we were at, or ICSC, and just people coming up to you and saying, wow, just want to say I'm a pro subscriber. I love CREXi, love what you're doing. I sold a property the other day. Fantastic. That's good. But then what's funny is I'll say something like, great, and are you using the comps and the contact? And they go, wait, what? There's so much on CREXi that they're paying for, they don't even have.
Right.
Like, and then I'll show them, like, you can go in, you can pull up the parcel map of every parcel in the United States, 50 million parcel records, click on it, and it'll tell you who the owner is, and probably has their phone number and their email.
Yeah.
And most people that are using CREXi don't even know that's available. We have an auction platform. We were just talking about that. A lot of people don't even know about our auction platform, which is going gangbusters right now. Sorry, Lisa, you're going to say something?
Hey, Paul, that's a good segue. Can you tell us about CREXi's research team?
Well, we don't have one. That's our research. So yeah,
I just got a question in the chat to ask you about research team at CREXi.
Yeah, so we don't have.
So how do you guys handle that?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was going to get into. A research team. There's companies out there that have them. I'm sure you're familiar with them.
Yeah, they call them drive me nuts.
They call them drive you nuts, and sometimes they put the information incorrectly.
And I don't give them the information.
All of those people don't give you, and it becomes very expensive because now, certainly in tertiary markets, it's like it's a lot of money to call everybody and then build it. So what we basically did is we used technology to leverage the experts, which are the brokers. So it's basically the crowdsourcing model. So basically on CREXi is we have an integration with all the tax records across the United States. And in real time, it'll update as soon as the deed is recorded. And then when the deal is also done on CREXi, the broker is allowed to put the information in there and say, yeah, we did sell it for $3.2 million, and this was the cap rate. And so we have a lot of enhanced data around each listing, and we're just partnering with you guys, and we can afford to give that to you guys for a much more reasonable fee nationwide. We don't have to charge you a lot of money for that information, and that's how we've managed to do it. Same with the ownership information, phone numbers, and emails. We went to a company that really wasn't in the commercial space, but they work with private detective agencies, and we're like, what if we need to find all these people? How do we do that? And they came up with it. And what ended up happening, which is kind of amazing, is not only do we have, they use skip tracing, and not only do we have all their phone numbers, but it'll say this number is 100% accurate, this number is 80%, 70%, 60%, don't even bother calling this number.
Yeah.
And then there'll be maybe 2 or 3 emails. And it's just, what the serendipitous thing about that is, then when we were testing it, we started clicking on single family homes, and it had all their phone numbers too. So if you're doing residential and commercial, you can get our intelligence product and start clicking around on single family homes in a subdivision, call up all the owners, and that's all part of CREXi Pro. It's amazing.
It is.
So no research team, to answer your question. We don't have any research.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, you've got the AI, right? So you don't really need
with technology.
The research team. So I think it was maybe 5 years ago, I was at maybe 6 years ago, I was at a commercial real estate conference in Southern California, and I came across CREXi. They were there, with a booth. And I'm like, CREXi? Who's CREXi? So
Yeah.
your company the momentum has expanded so much. And
Yeah.
one of the things I love as a commercial real estate broker about CREXi is that you're on the side of the broker who's out there in it every single day. So out of the tools that you have on CREXi, what would you recommend to a commercial broker or agent to really plug into?
I mean, look, so there's a lot of tools on CREXi. I think the one that I'm most interested in talking to brokers about is what we were just talking about just now, the leads. You can go into your tab in My Listings. I know maybe Stephanie can show her screen, but basically it shows you all the leads that you've got on a specific property. I am very opinionated. I was just at the Lee and Associates conference.
You're opinionated? No.
About that specifically, and I was on a panel with Build Out and a couple of, I forget who else was on. Oh, and Delius and a couple other guys. But I basically said, like, guys, you have so many leads in your listings. Just leave this conference, go to your computers and call through your leads. I guarantee you will get more business out of it. If you're just sitting there waiting for someone to contact you to buy your property, I don't know that you should even be in this business. Some brokers tell me that, like, why would I call the leads? Shouldn't they call me if they're interested? No, they will not, because if they've got 10 million bucks, they can buy 100 different properties. Why should they buy yours? And the seller hired you to call everybody and sell their property at the best price. That's your job, not to stick it on the internet and hope somebody calls you. That's unfortunately what it happens out there. Not with you and Stephanie, I know, but there are brokers out there that just don't want to. So calling the leads, number one. If you don't have any listings, then I'd say the number one tool would be the ownership information. Call a subdivision, go to Stephanie and say, hey, I see you've got a listing. Can I call all the owners in the area and see if I can get another listing out of it? And then I'll bring you in on the deal or something like that. That's those are the two ones that I would use depending on where you're at in your business.
I love that you brought that up, because we have a lot of platforms that we offer at EXP.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a great tech package to really build business and scale business. I know bringing my team over way back in 2018, we were able to go for on average 250 million in sales a year to well over in that B number that I love so much, billion, right?
And
the way
crazy.
that we've been able to do that, though, is that's exactly what we do. I mean, everybody says, well, how did you do it? How did you land the business? I made calls. I called people. When you get into a business and you're 21 years old, I didn't have a spear. I didn't have anybody with any money. I had to make it. I made calls. So you've got all these amazing technologies, but you still have to do the work, and that's making those calls. But we just had a guy 3 months into commercial real estate. 3 months.
Yeah.
He's closed, and I know this is a small number for a lot of us, but he's brand new and he's 23 years old. $8.5 million in sales on CREXi, using CREXi.
Is he buyer repping those, or he got the listing and sold them in 3 months?
He got the deals because he got the property owners cold calling them and them wanting to sell. I mean, right, okay, yeah. Because here's the thing: if you don't have any listings, there's still a ton of properties out there that want to be sold. You just got to ask the question. I mean, that's how I built my business. I mean, I don't list everything. But if I've got the buyer for it, I'm going to get it sold. Absolutely. So,
absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's a contact sport, right? Sales and commercial real estate is sales at the end of the day. I think some people forget that. They think it's and I used to say to people in my company that I was at, if you're there all day on an Excel spreadsheet, you're an analyst. If you're there all day looking up, properties, you're a researcher. If you're all day calling owners and calling sellers, then you're in sales. Sales is where you make your money. If you want to do research, and the other thing is I kind of learned probably halfway through my career is leverage, right? The most money goes to the person that can negotiate deals, get listings, do great listing presentations. That's where you make the money. Yeah. If you're good at that, but you're spending half your time Excel spreadsheeting it, you can hire someone in India to do that for $5 an hour. So figure out all the stuff you do all day, figure out what you could outsource. You don't have to have someone in your office. Right now, you can hire them in the Philippines and India, wherever.
My
and they're
son,
really
Paul,
good. Your son, we can hire your son. Let's do it.
no. My
Oh, okay.
son, he's had his real estate license since November. He graduated college, got
Okay.
his real estate license.
Yeah.
And for $50 a month, he has a VA, I think in India, who is
Yeah.
managing and putting together. So super smart. But I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, every day when he wakes up at 6 a.m., this person has already put in the list of
Yeah.
the property owners, the property addresses, the phone numbers,
Yeah.
all of that information for him. He wakes up, he makes his calls, and he moves on about the day, right?
There you go. That's it.
And I'm
That's
like,
it.
Dylan, you're set, man. That's how I built my business, way back in the day.
And then stick with it.
And stick
'Cause
with it. You've got to do the work.
I've seen over the years, I've seen a lot of people start that process
And then
and
they
they
give
do it
up.
for 2 or 3 months, and then they go, oh, it didn't really work, and they give up just when they're about to be successful. So it's a year. Remember Condo King? At least a year. Certainly if it's like investment sales, that probably like took me 2 years to kind of get that rolling. But once it's rolling,
It's rolling.
it's
pipeline.
rolling.
You gotta create the pipeline to keep it always evolving. When a broker agent says to me, I don't know, any closings in May and April, I go, well, then you weren't making phone calls in September, right?
Well, that's it. And that's the roller coaster of the industry, right? It's like, I make some cold calls, I finally get a client, it's a great deal, and I put it under contract, I sell it, I get a commission check, and then I got nothing else coming in. So look, I think most people know this, but a lot of people don't do it, right? You've got to keep the pipeline full the whole time. And that's why making calls every day, habits, I think are, another thing that I learned, maybe probably a little bit too late, is habits, systems are better than goals, right? I used to always have these big goals, but you forget to do the work every day to get you to that goal.
Correct.
All right. But if you go,
Or
my goal.
you get sidetracked. You get sidetracked because you have some deals in the pipeline. And, I teach new and experienced commercial real estate agents across the US through a program we offer at eXp Commercial. And I talk to them about, our clients, they're buying into a process. So having that process in place and then just continuing to repeat that process to a level of mastery. I mean, they're buying into us and our experience and our personality and all that, but you really need to have the systems in place. And one of those systems is making your calls every day.
Yes.
And another one of those systems is knowing the process from start to finish, so that you can successfully lead your client, and you're not going to have as much stuff go wrong. If you know your process, you can lead your client as to what's the next step. So Paul, we have some questions here for you. Paul,
it's not from Michael Bull, is it?
No, this one's
I saw Mike's on the call. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to see you.
These are from our live audience today. The first one is, Paul, what services does CREXi offer commercial real estate mortgage brokers? And does your data offer mortgage data like the maturity date, etc.? So
the answer is yes. The answer is yes, but let me explain how it would work, and maybe give me a call afterwards and I'll walk you through it. But basically, we have, like I said, 50 million property records. So you could go in and pull up, say, multifamily. You could export those into an Excel spreadsheet. And in that Excel spreadsheet will be a lot of data, including the lender and the origination date, the term of the loan. So then you could, if you use Excel, you could figure that out. And then you can go in, you pull up those owners. You'd have to then click on each owner to get the phone number, because the phone number doesn't translate into that Excel spreadsheet. So you'd have to do that one by one, but you could do that. Yeah. And that's called CREXi intelligence. And it also comes with, a lot of other stuff like traffic counts and income information and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty good product. So give me a shout, shoot me an email, and I'll send you some information on it. But yes, you could use that as a prospecting tool. Okay. Chris, hopefully that answers your question. Mm-hmm. And so I like the thing that you talked about, because new agents, especially in the business, or some with experience, they can get caught in that analysis paralysis. Either they want to learn everything before they get out there into the market, or they sit there behind the veil of the spreadsheet you were talking about. So what's another success habit that you'd recommend to people in the commercial real estate industry right now? Wow. I mean, the number one, obviously, I think we've already flogged this one to death, but just making the outbound calls. I mean, that's key, and not doing the analysis by, paralysis. And it's, look, ultimately people spend all day in Excel spreadsheets and researching. Why? Call reluctance. If I call up a person, that person may say something mean to me, and then I have a very fragile
That's what gets
ego,
me going and
then I'll
motivated.
start
I love it.
crying, and then I'll have to go and go home and cry on my pillow. So I think a lot of people, they
Just
don't
bring the
admit that to
pillow to
themselves.
the office with you so you can cry
See,
there.
Why did I not think of that? That would have saved me so much back and forth from home to the office.
I love a good ripping off of a property owner. That gets me motivated to keep doing it.
Yeah, but the other strategy is having a pitch that doesn't involve, hey, do you want to sell your property today?
That's exactly right.
Because that's very like direct, and if you call enough people, sure, you'll get that. Yeah, sure, I do. I used to have the most successful thing that I did was I'd probably call like 20 owners a day, and I had a cold caller also, but I'd have like my list of people that I really wanted. The guy that owned the $20 million industrial park, I wanted to call that guy. And I used to leave a voicemail for these guys, and it was, hey Bob, how you doing? It's Paul Cohen from, in this case, CBRE, from CBRE. Hey, if you're ever thinking of selling this property, call me before you speak to anybody, before you do anything, something like that. And I just leave that, and then I shoot them a little email. I can literally point to multi-million-dollar deals that I did. People like, all right, I'm finally ready to sell. I remember your voicemail you left me 6 months ago. What do you got for me? And now it got us in at the table. And once we were at the table, we'd blow everyone else away with our presentations and stuff. But that was a thing. It was just a discipline of kind of getting into that type of thing. So I think that's the most important thing. And then like the next level kind of stuff is what you guys are doing, right? It's your, social media. It's your becoming a thought leader. It's becoming known as an expert. The problem with that stuff, as you well know, is it takes a lot of time. Very rarely do you finish your CRE power hour on some college up and says, hey, I want to sell my property. I'm sure it's happened, but generally speaking, it's like you keep doing this stuff and it doesn't have that instant feedback or that instant gratification. So for example, every year I did this big investor conference, and we'd invite everyone that we wanted to sell properties for in our market, which was Miami. We'd do a big event where we had like speakers and stuff. It took a lot of time. It took like that month. That's all we were doing. Did it lead to, it led to a couple of listings where afterwards someone would come up to me and say, hey, talk to me about my property, which is great, but sometimes it didn't. But when you keep doing that, in the mind of the client, they see you as so much better than everybody else. So when it comes time to pitch that business, they're like, wow, if he's at the same commission fee as the guy from Colliers, I'll just go with these guys, because they do the big investment seminars and they send me all the postcards and they do the podcasts and they do the this and they do the that. That I think is next level. But you've got to make sure you're still doing the selling and getting the listing. Some people can get caught up in the podcast and not be doing the business. So
that's where the leverage comes in, don't you think, Paul?
Leverage
is key for sure. Finding out what you're good at and finding out what you're good at as a commercial broker, and also focusing on those high payoff activities, and then creating a plan to leverage everything else so you can clear the deck, so you have time to do stuff like this. Because from my perspective, the expectation of our client or our customer is much higher now. They're smarter, there's more information, there's more people in our industry. Our clients have become savvy. And so we still want to be able to focus on what we're good at, and crunching the numbers and putting deals together, negotiating and all that stuff, and providing social proof, exposure, and lots of other stuff. Like I'm big on events for our clients. And, I feel like CREXi, once I got on the CREXi bandwagon, I feel like CREXi does that for commercial real estate agents and brokers, is you provide us with more than the alternative. And I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
No, yeah. Thanks for saying that. I mean, it's look, none of this is rocket science, right? I mean, I think it's easy to come up with these things. The trick is actually doing it, right? And not getting distracted. And I think that's what separates a lot of people. The other thing I think, if you want to get from making X amount of dollars to, making some big bucks like you guys are, it's building a team.
Yes.
And that, I think a lot of people make mistakes. I've seen people when I've worked at companies are like, oh, I'll partner with this guy so I can split my money with them for no apparent reason. That's a bad way to do it. The way to do it is to figure out what your deficits are personally, if you're the person building the team, what you like to do, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Some people are very analytical. So, know that you can do the analytical side, but now you need to figure out, you need to get the salesperson in the room and figure out how to split your fees. And then like all the other functions, what do you need? I mean, someone making calls, I think is important. Obviously a marketing person, very important, but how do you grow that when you're still trying to, grow your business? So it's tough to get there, but I think, figuring out who to partner with, we used to use disc profiles to figure out
I was just going to
personality
mention
types.
We do.
this profiling. I
Yeah.
use that
Yeah,
to grow my team and in my business. It's awesome.
It is it's so awesome to see that. And,
Yeah.
we do that. Every single person has had those disc profiles, and we're all similar, but we have a lot of those differences. And that is exactly why our team works great. People ask me all the time, Stephanie, when did you decide to build a team? When I got out of my own way is the answer to that question. Because for so long, I thought, oh my God, if I rely on anyone else to touch this business that I've created, they're going to screw it up. And when I got out of my own way and started to build that team, oh my God, I can't even imagine what it was like back when I was a one-woman show. Literally, I had staff, but a one person doing the deals. Now, I mean, that's how we went. That's how we've scaled. I've built my team. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, for anybody that doesn't know, but I have team members right here in Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, DC, and Rhode Island. And that's how we've spread ourselves out. And, thank God for companies like EXP, where we can do license portability and do deals, across the entire nation, because that's what my team does. We're very much not a local real estate team. We're very globalized in doing business in the Dominican Republic as well, in other countries. And so I could have never done that as a one-woman operation or a one-man operation, period. You can't. And
you can't.
The true scalability comes with the help. And to be quite honest, I'm not great at everything. Believe it or not, I am not. Lisa Marie and Paul, I'm really not that great at everything, right? I know that's a newsflash for everybody, but
I just find that very hard to believe. I find that very hard to believe. But I was going to hire you to do my Argus analysis. I was like, who do I know that could do Argus? I bet it's Stephanie.
I could do that. No, but I mean, seriously though, that it is, it's the step in that right direction, but also too, for juniors getting into the business, it is not the best way you learn is through, obviously Lisa Marie's Accelerate program is amazing. Obviously that's a great opportunity, but mentors, you've got to have a mentor in this industry, and why not learn from them, right? You have got have the mentor, get on a team and start learning that way. I wish I'd had that opportunity, as well. But Paul, before we, because we're getting to the end here, we've got to talk about CREXi's auction platform, because I just had a closing on it yesterday.
I know.
The first one with CREXi. I've been using another one for some time now. And I think it's amazing that a lot of people don't realize that CREXi also has this auction platform. And, there's a massive misconception out there that if you're a broker or an agent and you turn it over to CREXi's auction platform, that you are actually losing money. No, you're not. And they don't take anything from you. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get to keep your commission. Number one. I don't use the auction platform for distress, I don't. There hasn't been any of distress that we've been selling. I use the auction platform because I want to minimize the deal cycle, right? So when I get a property, or the team gets a property, and we're looking at it and we're like, oh man, this is going to be, because of the due diligence period and all these things, this is going to be one that might be 9 or 12 months or longer. And I want to minimize that time, and my seller wants to minimize that time. And that's what we're utilizing the auction platform for. And I love it because it also allows for me and my team to not have to be the boots on the ground if we're not up in New York or where did we sell the one yesterday? I don't even remember. New Jersey?
I think so. I know Anthony Gates
somewhere,
yeah. And he has
Connecticut.
one on there today, I think.
I got one on there today too. So that's why, sorry, you all. It is so, there's a great point in your life when you're like, wait, what did I sell and where is it? That is a great point in your life, everybody. That's what everybody should wanted to aspire to. Don't even forget it, right? But it's somewhere up in the Northeast. But we didn't have boots on the ground right then and there, and I didn't want a co-broker. I like my money. I like to keep it all, right? And so CREXi came in, we got it, we launched it out, we sold it, it closed. It was the easiest process ever. So easy.
Yeah, and the technology that they've built to kind of help run it, you're listed on the listing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're giving it up. You're still there. We do all the marketing. We check all the bidders, make sure they have proof of funds. We run the closing and stuff. So it couldn't be easier. So yeah, we're happy to talk to any of your folks out there that want to, maybe they've got an auction potential candidate and they want to see if it's a good candidate. We'll chat with you guys about it. You can sell your listings on CREXi, on Pro, which a lot of people do. I just had what's Susie at CCIM? I forgot her last name. Susie double barrel name. Anyway, she I was talking to her just about a week ago, and I was like, well, let me explain to CREXi what it's all about, because we have a national partnership with CCIM now, and that should be launched next week once we just got to get one more thing done. But that we're driving the website for CCIM. So if you're a CCIM, every one of your listings, as long as it's on CREXi, goes to the CCIM national site. Anyway, I was trying to explain to Susie, and she let me go on for like 15 minutes. She goes, yeah, I had to put a property up on CREXi yesterday, and I got it under contract in 4 hours. And I was like, well, first of all, why'd you let me talk about it when you told me that when we started? But it's amazing to me that people are putting deals up on CREXi and boom. And I think that's the thing that CREXi is going to change in the industry. Commercial real estate is not a liquid asset, as we all know. I mean, if you inherit a property or you have a property you want to get rid of quickly, 6 months, a year, depending on the market. Our goal is to try and get that down into a matter of days. And there are certainly assets out there that there's no reason why they can't trade hands in a couple of days. Environmentals, appraisals, all that could be done with technology a lot quicker than it's done today. So we're excited about changing the industry to that extent.
Is there anything that CREXi's getting ready to do or do we already know about everything? I mean, is there some big, huge thing going to happen here soon, or any exciting news? Or
we want to be the first to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you
We want our audience to be the first to know.
What can I give you a scoop on? I mean, so we actually roll out stuff on CREXi every 2 weeks.
I know.
So every 2 weeks it's called a sprint, and there's like new stuff, and we're doing a lot of tweaking right now, because what we want to do is make it so easy. It's pretty easy to use right now, but we want to like make sure this button works and that button. So we're doing a lot of like maintenance type stuff. So that's not super exciting. I mean, I think probably the big thing that we're working on right now, which I don't have a date for you, but it's going to be, so I'm pretty excited about it, is, as you know, and you stated already, Stephanie, you have a ton of leads on CREXi. I couldn't guess, but maybe you've got 3,000 leads would be my guess. So what I mean by that, folks, is every time somebody clicks on one of your listings and they're logged in, we store that information for you, and it will even tell you what property they clicked on, if they made an offer, all that kind of stuff. So that's your CRM within CREXi. What a lot of brokers have said is, hey, can I add my own contacts to CREXi and now store all my contacts within CREXi? And so we said, yes, we're working on that. So that's the next big thing that we'll roll out, CREXi Contacts. What's exciting about that is the tool will enable you, as long as that person that you upload from your database is in CREXi, we can now tell you, oh, they're interested in an office in Houston or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're not going to tell you what listings that they clicked on. I think that's a little bit spooky, a little bit creepy, but we'll definitely be able to tell you if they're active, if they're looking for properties, and then you can call them up and say, hey, I got a property in Houston for you. So that's the next level. I mean, there are CRMs out there, but I had a CRM for many years. I think I used REA 10 was the last version I used, and it's great. You can link properties to all that sort of stuff. But if you leave it alone for 3 months, it's all out of date. And so the idea with CREXi is if somebody changes from SVN and comes to EXP because of your fantastic, stock situation and the money you can make from being part of the network, then as soon as they make the transition and it happens in CREXi, it'll let everybody else know who's in their database too. So your database will never be out of date. And that's, I think, the big initiative that we're doing on the CRM front. So I'm excited.
Awesome. That's
So I have
awesome.
That's a scoop.
I have
That's a scoop
one-
right there. No one knows about that.
That's you get it right here, friends, from tuning in to CRE Power Hour. Paul, I
I'm
have a
running to
question
get
for
trouble.
you.
I'm running to
Hey,
get trouble from
and
the
just
product team for telling everybody.
And full disclosure, CREXi gives me nothing. I pay every month. I just love
Me
the
too.
product. So it's not like,
Yep.
we're
We give
paying off.
definitely
I mean,
absolutely
we
nothing.
find
to
things
be
that
honest.
work because that's the number one question. People ask, how are you doing it? How are you doing it? How are you doing it? Yes, I am amazing. I'm going to own it. Right. But honestly, it's the tools, it's the partnerships, it's the relationships. But you've got to have great tools in your tool belt. Otherwise, none of us are good at anything. And that's some of the secret sauce right there is CREXi bringing us these leads. Now I have to have those listings in order to get those leads, right? So you got to, go out and do the work. But no, I mean, I think that, if we could go back in time and CREXi started first before the 1,000-pound gorilla, I don't think there'd ever been a reason to have that other one,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, look, I would, back then they didn't have the cloud, they didn't have Amazon Web Services. It would have been tough to do what we do with the technology when they started. But things come at their own time, and I do believe this is the right time for CREXi. At that point when we started, Xceligent was still kind of a thing, and they kind of went by the wayside, unfortunately for them. But so it just kind of like the seas parted for us, and we just kind of rolled right through. And it's one of the exciting things, what I'm probably the most proud about, is if you've ever been to Trustpilot, if I'm ever having a down day or something like that, I'll go to Trustpilot and I'll just start reading the reviews. I go to really good restaurants that don't have a 4.9 out of 5. It's amazing what brokers are saying about it. So if you don't know what CREXi is, or you've heard of CREXi, but you're not sure, go to Trustpilot, look up CREXi, and just start reading the reviews. There's like 1,500 reviews from brokers that are loving the service. You can't make that stuff up. And then go to some other companies and see what their reviews are like. Not so good. So that is really, for me, probably the thing that I'm just gets me a little bit teary-eyed a little bit sometimes, because it's really important. I mean, it's important that the industry needs something that is easy to use, is affordable for everybody, and buyers, sellers, everyone. The idea, I forgot the name of the commercial lender, Chris, I think it was. Lenders, attorney, everyone can come together on CREXi, and we'll make tools to make your life easier. That's kind of what we're trying to do. So that's the big picture.
That's a great final statement. I love that.
Good.
So Paul, thank you so much for being on our show today. It's great having you as a guest, and we love your sense of humor. And so everybody here, people drop their information in the chat, and we put Paul's information there. So please connect on LinkedIn or get together and have a Zoom Bloody Mary, since we weren't there for the Bloody Mary bar.
Wait,
We should do that next time. Next time, let's do Bloody Marys for everybody.
Paul, C5, any Bloody Mary bar.
Well, what we have at C5 is we're doing a photo headshots. We're doing headshots. So if you're going to C5,
wait a minute. Picture of myself or Bloody Mary?
How about this? How about
sure.
a picture of you with a Bloody Mary?
We'll do,
And that will be your new screenshot. That will be your
Bloody
new
Mary.
crown.
Yes.
Somebody said, Paul, they want your picture for you to have a crown. That's pretty funny. So CRE Power Hour, our live show, we are every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. Tune in on July 27th, which happens to be my birthday. So let's have some cake.
Nice.
And we'll have,
I'm teasing.
our next guest is Angie Salcido. We're going to talk about personal personal and business credit and how you can transform your credit to help you give you more buying power. And also check out our podcast on Spotify, CRE Power Hour. Thanks so much for attending. Paul, great to see you. And thanks to our live audience today. See you soon.
Thanks,
You got it.
Paul.
Lisa Marie, Stephanie, pleasure. Have you back.
Love you, man.
Fun.
Love you,
See
man.
later.
We'll bring you back.
Bye.
Let's
All right.
marry.
See you later.